Hi, welcome to another video from TOGAtech. My name's Dave, and in today's video we will be building this. Just before we start this build of this Star Wars style small blast door, I just want to point out that this is not my design and not my idea. This is a design by a Frank Diario, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I do apologise, Frank, if I'm not. From dioramas.com. I just wanted to show you how easy it is to build and what a fantastic build it is. So please check out his website, dioramas.com, for all the relevant materials you need to build this. And with that said, let's get on with the build. Okay, just want to reiterate that this is not my build. This is not a new project. I just wanted to go through the process of building it myself, and I'm going to do a little bit of an adaptation at the end of it. But this is a build based on and using the products from Diorama Workshop. This is, you can look them up on dioramaworkshop.com. It's by a guy called Frank Diario, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly. He's got some awesome dioramas, and I recommend that you check them out. They're absolutely fabulous. I wanted to do some dioramas that I can use for toy photography. So anyway, for this project, what you're going to need a few items: steel rule, a cutting mat, a pair of scissors, a very sharp scalpel type knife. I've got a box cutter style knife with some refills, a glue stick, a black Sharpie, pencil sharpener, and an eraser. And the bulk of this is going to be made from, if I can get this into shot, this 5mm foam core, which is basically a piece of foam, expanded foam, I don't know if I can get that on the shot there, between two sheets of thick paper. You can get this from your local hobby stores, and we're going to be making this, fabricating it out of this. Also, along with that, you're going to need the build instructions here. These are, as I said, from dioramaworkshop.com. You can download those for free from his site and print them off. And you're also going to need decals, which again he does on his website. You can download these and you can see they've got the decals. And what we'll be building today is a small blast door from Star Wars. This is based on a scale for your 3.75mm figures, and we're going to be building this small blast door. Okay, so once you've got all the equipment you need, you've downloaded all your files and your decals. You can see they're very, very precise. They're beautiful, beautiful pieces of artwork. Thank you very much, Mr. Frank there from diorama.com. They've got shadow lines and everything. It's got all the pieces. You can either make a closed blast door or you can make an open blast door. We're going to be going for the open one today. They're the decals you're going to need to stick to your foam board once you've cut out the pieces you need for that. Now you can use self-adhesive stickers, or I'm just using normal A4 paper, and I'm going to be gluing it on with my glue stick. Here's our instructions that we downloaded, and it's got the piece sizes you're going to need to cut out first. You're going to need 8 pieces cut of 15 by 15.5 centimetre squares cut from that foam board, and you're going to need 8 of them. So I'm going to stop talking now. I'm going to mark these up on my foam board and start cutting them out. Okay, let's get on with it. Here's my foam board. And start marking this out. So it's 15 by 15.5 centimetres, and you're going to need 8 squares. So let's mark this out. Try not to get my head in the way. So we do 15.5. Yeah. We need 8 of these squares. A lot of the build I'll go through as time lapse because you can see what I'm doing. There's no need for me to spend hours and hours of your time you watching me cutting pieces of foam. So just again, 8 pieces, 15 centimetres by 15.5 centimetres, cut from your 5mm foam core. Right, I'm just going to speed through this now and I'll come back to you once I've got them cut out. So there you have your 8 pieces of 15 centimetres by 15.5 centimetres. Now the height of the door is 15 centimetres, so make sure you've got them all standing up the right way. And the width of the door, so the height is 15 centimetres and the width of the door is 15.5 centimetres. Very important you make sure you've got these all the right way round. So that's your 8 pieces, all cut from your 5mm foam core. Now we go on to cutting out the transfers or decals. As I say, it's very nicely done. A whole set of decals for us. Beautifully produced decal set. So here we have the small closed blast door skin. So if you're going to do a closed door, you can just use this skin and put that on top of one of your 15mm pieces, and that's the door closed. but we are going to be doing an open blast door with two sides and the visible doors in between. It actually becomes, it's about 6 centimeters thick overall, the whole diorama, so it has depth to it. It's deep, so you can see through it and you can see the different layers. That's what makes it superb. So we're going to be doing that. So this is a closed door skin again. We don't want this closed door skin, we want front and rear open skins. So this is one here, this is page 2 of 6. Now you're going to need 2 of these, okay, because it's double layered. You're going to need 2 of these. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the front and the back skins of our door. So let's print these off. We printed those and we're going to cut these out now. So I'm just going to put these aside. That's a full door skin, which we won't be using on this model. And that's the top of the unit. If you're going to use it in an open diorama, you need to close in the top so you don't see all the pieces. You don't see the top of the foam board. So you stick that to a piece of foam board or card and that will stick on top of that when it's done. We're not going to be using that for now, so I'm going to put that aside. So the only 3 skins we're going to need for now are the open blast door front and the open blast door back. Now you need 2 of each of these because they're double layered. And you're also going to need the spines. 2 sheets of the spines here as well. Okay, let's cut those out. Let's take our first one and we'll take a look at that. In the centre here, you've got the little V shapes which will form the illusion of the door being open, but you see them later. What we need to cut out at the moment are these shapes here and cut out the centres as well of these. Now you've got to do this very carefully. And what I tend to use for this is a sharp knife like this and my steel ruler, and we just cut it very gently. This guy here, Frank Durario, if I'm pronouncing his name correctly, has done some guidelines here for cutting, because he's left you a little bleed space between the white paper and the decal itself. So you've got an error of margin of error there between your cut, because you don't want any white paper showing. So he's put these little red cut marks here that you can align your steel rule up to. And as you can see, if you cut along that line, it trims between the blue and the white and leaves a nice blue edge. Very, very helpful. So we're going to be cutting along then. I'm going to have to stick my glasses on because my eyesight's getting worse and worse as I get older. But there we go. So we align them up to those cut marks there. And then you can either use a big knife like this or your tiny knife. Just hold that on there and then just stroke that through. And that's cut through that piece already, like that. We do the same on the opposite side. So I'll just show you one and then I'll speed through the rest, because it's like teaching you to suck eggs really. If you've cut decals out before, there's nothing new here. Now you see my paper slipped there, so you've got to apply a fair degree of pressure on there, stop that from slipping. Let's cut the 2 verticals. Now we just spin that over and we can cut through that. Again, he's got the 2 red marks there to help you. Try and apply even pressure to to your ruler to stop the paper from slipping. And also orientate the decal in the best, most comfortable position for you to cut. So I've got one more cut on there. Again, get the 2 red marks. There, and then keep pressure on that ruler. And that should be free now. There we are. Just pop that aside for now. Now you can see we've cut the door decal from that sheet. And we also need to cut out this inner piece here. Like that. And this little triangular shape that forms the door. So I'm going to cut that triangular shape out first. Again using the same process. You've got your red cut lines. These dotted lines you can see in here are fold lines, so do not cut them, they are your fold lines. And that's your little triangular piece cut out. You're going to end up with 8 of these. We'll just put that aside for now. And here's your decal. Now this is going to be the open door view. Now you've got a top and a bottom on this. You must get this the right way round. The top is the thicker side. You can see it's 20mm thick on the top and only 10mm thick on the bottom. So you must make sure you align that up with your foam core when you stick this onto your foam core, like that. Make sure your foam core is the right way round as well, and that will just stick to your foam core like that once you've cut it all out. And then we can cut the inside of this out to make our opening for our door. So I'm going to stick this to our foam core now before I start cutting around the edges here. Okay, and to do that I'm just going to use a Pritt stick. As I say, I'll show you one, talk you through the process of one cut, and then I'll just speed through the rest as a time lapse, okay? So as not to bore you. Don't want to make this too long. Glue stick. So, actually rather than get glue all over my base here, I'm going to glue up one of the foam core pieces. Glue all round. Put some glue on there. Make sure you've got your foam core the right way round. Remember it's 15mm high by 15 centimetres high by 15.5 centimetres wide. And again your decals, you've got the wider bit on the top, narrower bit on the bottom. So if we now line this up, just do it gently, line that up with the bottom face and the side face. Smooth that out. It's nothing complicated at all. We'll trim these all up because you can see the foam core is slightly wider than the decal, but we can trim that all up after. There's no problems with that at all. Just make sure that's nice and flush on the bottom. You've got a little bit of slide before the glue dries. And that's there. That's your first piece stuck onto your foam core, like so. And once that's stuck down, make sure that's stuck down nice and evenly. Then we're going to cut out this section here. Now for these sort of cuts, so I like to use these little pen blades. Gives me more control on the corners when I cut the curve to the corners. So try and get it in a comfortable position for your hand and then start your cut. Now again, the guy, awesome guy, has left us a little bleed line in between. So you cut in the centre of that bleed line. Don't cut on the white or into the black. Cut on that bleed line there. So if I get this in a comfortable position to start making that turn for that corner, so I pop my knife in there. And it's a bit blunt, that one, so make sure you've got a nice sharp blade. And then just follow the curve as best you can, staying within that bleed line. So you can see my blade's not very sharp because it actually tore it there. Again, rotate your door so it makes it more comfortable for you to cut. So, again, rotate on the corner. Don't have to cut through in one cut. And when you come to that corner, I can feel that dragging, so definitely get yourself a sharp blade. So I can feel that dragging. Keep it within that blue bleed line. Yeah, that's definitely dragging. You can see it hasn't come through on the reverse there because I haven't cut deep enough on the first cut, but we can go round again and do it again on the second cut. Definitely check out this guy's YouTube channel. He's got so many builds of different parts of the Death Star, Star Wars builds. You can see it's just slightly come through the back there. I don't know if you can see that. But I'm going to use that as a guide now, just to cut through this layer of paper on the back here, because I believe that's all that's holding it together now. Quite strong stuff, this foam core. That's going to come out now. Just gently tease that out. And you can see if anywhere it hasn't quite cut properly. Yeah. That's our centre out. Now you can see that's out. We can keep these, use these a bit later on for something. There you can see there's our blast door, and you can see with that little mistake I made there, that's where I didn't have a sharp knife. It's torn the paper a bit, but I'll touch that up with a bit of black Sharpie. Just clean these edges up. Smooth the foam down a bit, especially on the rounded edges. of the door. Just using the rounded end part of my knife. You can see, look, there, it didn't cut very well. Trim them off. So I'm not as good as that guy, but that's a reasonable effort. Yeah. So these inner edges will get covered with another transfer after, another decal. So you don't have to worry too much, just try and keep them as smooth as possible. They will get covered. Yeah, there, as I say, I've damaged a little bit there with the paper. So I didn't have a sharp knife. You can see that it's flaking off a bit. But I'll try and stick that down. And then I'll just use my black Sharpie. Just touch that in with my black Sharpie there. It's usually best to go along with on all the edges with a black Sharpie. Takes that white paper look off of them. Tends to make it blend in a lot easier. Be careful not to go onto the decal itself, you only want to do the inner edge. It gives it a fake shadow line. That's it. That's our first piece. Now, let's have a look at what other bits we got here. So that's our first piece. Happy with that. Then you got this, which is the rear of the blast door, because you can see it's got nothing on there. There's no, this one, it's got like little shapes on there and shadowing. And that, so this is the front and this is the rear. So again, it's the same process. Cut this out, stick this on your phone core, and then cut out your inner centre piece. Okay, so I'm going to crack on and do that. I'll speed through it and come back to you after I've done that bit. Now you need to do 2 sets of these. That's the first set. You need to do 2 sets of these doors, okay? So we'll just go through the whole process again. I'm going to do that off camera and I'll come back to you when they're done. Okay? Go along. These ones here with the holes in, I've got to go along the top of the inside of this frame. Once you glue these 2 pieces together, so you've got a front and you've got a back, they will glue together like that. And then these decals here with the holes in, which is on page 4, will form the sides. The longer ones are for the sides of the frame, and the 2 shorter ones are for the top and the bottom of the frame. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out now, and then I'll show you how to stick them onto there. Now if you look at this, when I put those 2 pieces together, the inside of my frame is not perfect. It's not flat. So what I'll probably do is just give that a little trim up as well. Once I glue these 2 pieces together, then I'll give them a trim. Okay, and then we'll do that. So the outside part of your frame will have these bits on it. The 2 long ones for the sides and the two short ones for the top and bottom. But let's cut these out for now, and I'll show you what's going on with those. Again, same process, just cut them out with you. And that's your, just pop that aside, and that's your two long strips with the holes in here. See the dark squares, the black squares? They're obviously where the locking mechanism engages into the door. So what we need to do, we've got our frame, our front, that's our front, because it's got these little squares on here which are meant to be like control panels. And then we've got our back, which is plain. We want to glue these together. Now make sure you've got them the right way up. Remember the top is 20mm, the bottom is 10mm. So they'll be that way round. Now I'm just going to put these together with a bit of Pritt stick, but normally you could use a bit of hot glue. Pritt stick should hold this. A bit on both sides. Make sure they're the right way up. Remember, thick top, thin bottom. That's that one there, and we're going to stick this one there to it. Most important bit is the bases are flush. So just give that a little press down. And there we go. That's our front and our back. Now if you look at it, I'm going to slightly slide that a little bit across just to square that up a bit. The inside of mine are not as flush as the guy on dioramaworkshop.com does, because he's been doing it a lot longer than me and he's a lot better. These need to be flat so that our decals can sit nicely on them. I'll put a little bit of glue on there because that piece of paper keeps moving. Oh. Yeah, these need to be as smooth as you can get them. I'm going to probably trim them up with a sharp knife now, because you've got these decals here. The long one, as I said, goes around the side, so there's our top. So this long one's got to go around the side here. Now you've got a set of 2 holes, then 4 holes, then 2 holes. The 2 holes have got to be in the centre of this little diagonal piece here. Then the 4 holes down the side, and then the other 2 holes down there. So you need to centre this piece of your decal. I don't know how you can see that with the camera or not, but that will then centre in there and cover the edges. Like so. I don't know, hang on, let's see if I can show that to you. There. That will go in there. So we need to centre that, stick it down, and then work our way round to get that in the creases there. Okay, I'm going to attempt that then. So we can try and get that. So don't forget, the 4 holes have got to be centred on the flat side of your door, and then the 2 holes on the piece going up at 45-degree angle, and the same on the base there. Let's try and do that. So I'm going to put, just see how smooth that is there. That's not too bad. Yeah, so I'm going to put a bit of Pritt stick along the inside of my frame here. And it's a case of trying to blend it in. So that's a Pritt stick on the inside of the frame there, and I'm going to take my piece here, 2 holes, 4 holes. Now you can pre-bend this a little bit if you want to put a little bit of memory into it, but Just got to make sure you get it in the right place. But the most important thing is try and get those 4 holes aligned with the centre of this side of the frame here. So I'm going to try and do that. Once you're happy with its centering, then just gently press it down. Now you want to try and press it, oh, this is hard to show on camera. You want to try and press it into the curves. Okay, so that's being pressed into the curves and working my way up the frame, like that. So those 2 holes should be in the centre, those 4 holes in the centre of that bit of the frame, and so on. And then just work your way, pressing your way round. I'm going to just do this flat on the floor here, and I'm going to use the curved edge of my Sharpie to try and work it into the corners. Hard to show you on camera, so I'll show you once I've done it. Doesn't look too sad. Obviously keep the transfer as flush with the front face of your door as possible, because the back face you won't see because it's going to have another layer on top of that. So the most important bit is the front face. Just going to work that in. Right. Okay, I don't know if you can see, that's there. So you've got the 2 holes on the side, 4 holes in the centre, 2 holes on the side. Now you can try and blend that in as best as possible with the edges of your foam core. Use something round, use your fingernail. I'm going to use the round barrel of my Sharpie just to try and give that a rounded edge so you don't see the edge of the paper. And make sure it's tucked into the corner here. You can see like that bit sticking out a little bit. So you need to try and round that into that corner. I think the guy on the Diorama Workshop, he uses his fingernail to stroke it in. Let's give that a go. Yeah, that kind of works. So just using the edge of your thumbnail, just give it a little stroke as you go round the edge of the transfer. Tends to crush the foam board a little bit, but it gives it a curving edge then. Clever guy. Right, okay, that's my number 1 in there. I don't know if you can see that. So we've got the 4 blast door locking holes, I think that's what they are. There. So I'm going to repeat the same action with the top end, with the opposite side. Sorry, that's the side. I'm going to repeat the action with the other side, and then we do the top and bottom. So there's my decal. And that is our first blast door section. There's the top, the outside, the inside, and then in there you can see the locking latches all the way round. That is awesome. Now you've got to do that all again because you need 2 of these. So I'm going to stop the camera now. I'm going to make my second one and then I'll come back to you. Okay? Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll be back in a moment with the rear section. Thanks. Okay, before I go on to showing you the other panel I made, I'm going to go on to the next panel here. So in the first section we built this part of the blast door, which is 2 layers of foam core with the front decal, the rear decal and the locking interface parts of the door, which is the inside of the sill here. Okay, now you have to make 2 of these if you're doing the Death Star small blast door. Now the next section we'll go on to, we're going to need another piece of foam core and one of these to trace round. So if we line that up with our foam core, just get our pencil and just do a line inside so we can mark the position of our blast door. Okay, so that's the inside of our blast door. Now we want to square these lines up because we want to cut a rectangle. This rectangle, remember, is 15 centimetres by 15.5 centimetres, and we want to cut out a rectangle inside that is the size of the blast door opening itself. So if we just line up along that edge, extend that line, top and bottom, same with that side. And then along with the horizontal line of the blast door. And the bottom horizontal line. Remember, you've got to make sure you know which way up this is. The top is there, which is the 2 centimetre gap, and then the bottom is the 1 centimetre gap. Now we've extended these lines over to the corner and we want to cut out that whole rectangle. Just going to use my knife again, line that up with that line, push into that corner, draw the knife back, don't go all the way. Spin that around, do the same on the other side. So there's my intersection there. Just before the edge, that corner. That corner there. Okay. I need to just finish off those corners. We should end up with that shape there. So you've got 2 centimetres at the top, 1 centimetre at the bottom, and a rectangle. Now these you're going to need, so you're going to need to cut your remaining 4 squares. These are your remaining 4 squares. You need to cut them exactly the same as that. So So we'll just go around, trace them, cut them out. Line that up. Square like that. Pencil. Okay, and there you have your four pieces, four rectangular pieces. Now you're going to be gluing these in a stack of two to add to the thickness. So I'm going to glue those two together and then glue the other pair together. Find them in a minute. Those ones. These are your frame decals. Again, you want two prints of this. I'll do the first one and do the second one off camera. So again, we're just cutting out these decals. Straightforward. Try not to leave any white paper, so cut them slightly in on the edge so you don't have any white paper showing. I've left about 1 millimetre there. Spin them over. I'll show you the first one and then I'll do the second one off camera, and then so as not to make this video too long. Just want to say again, all the decals and plans and that comes from Frank Durario of dioramas.com. So I'm not trying to steal any of his work, I just wanted to show you how I did it. And I do encourage you to check out his website and his YouTube channel. He's got far much more experience than I have with this, and he also does a lot of other dioramas for... Yeah, my battery just died there, so just had to replace the battery. But as I was saying, he does a lot more dioramas than this. He does ones for Tatooine and Mos Eisley. So do check him out, and I hope he's not upset by me doing this video. I just wanted to show you the process that I've used and to see if I could accomplish this diorama for toy photography. So I've cut out those decals now. Now there is a shadow line on these which I need to point out. There's a dark line and a white line. The white line faces towards the front of the diorama. The back line is the shadow line which goes towards the back. And you need to keep them all the right way round. So I'm just going to do one frame, and then the other frame is exactly the same. So take your frame here, we've got our pieces, and you need to fold them along those shadow lines. Okay, so we just fold that gently along that shadow line. A little bit difficult to do, but you can just fold that along that shadow line. Just put a little crease in it like that, and the same on the front one. And you need to keep these all the same way round, so don't forget the light line faces the front of the door of the blast door, and the dark line faces inside of it, which is the dark line there, the shadow line. So here's your frame, got your top and your bottom. These slide on here like that, with the white line towards the front and the black line towards the back, and then you just stick these on like that all the way round. So I'm going to do the first one. You may have to trim them to fit the openings. It should be exact, but if I haven't cut my openings in right, you'll see they're a bit too long there. So I might trim a little bit off just to get them into my opening. It needs a couple of mil off of there, so I'll just shave a couple of mil off of that. Make sure it fits first. Yep, that's going to go in there now. So if I glue that up, and I can stick that down along there. Just put some glue on there. Okay, that's the first one of those frames. Exactly the same on this one, which I'll do off camera again, and I'll come straight back to you. Okay, cheers, see you in a bit. Okay, for this next section, we're going to need 12 of these little pieces. These are just offcuts. They're 1 centimetre by 2.5 centimetres. You're going to need 12 of those. They're just spacers, that's all we need them for. You're also going to need 3 of these, which are 6.5 centimetres by 6.5 centimetre cuts of foam core. These are going to be the what will look like the door is open. So you're going to need those, and then you're going to need your decals. These are the triangular pieces decals with the fold line along there as well. So let's start off by cutting these 6.5 by 6.5 pieces in half. Just cut them along the diagonal. That's that one. So you've got 3 of these, cut in half, giving you 6 pieces. And these are going to make it as though it's going to appear as though the door is open, but just leaving part of the door showing through the frame. So that's those cut. Now I've cut these all out. These are our pieces here. We'll take one of those, and you can see the fold lines there, so we need to fold it roughly on the edge. And then again on that fold line, just do a slight crease on it. So, and then what we're going to do is we're going to glue this to our 5mm foam board. just like that. And that fold wraps over obviously the thickness of the foam board, then wraps around the other side like that. Let's do that with all 6 of these pieces. So we put some glue on. Right, for the last few stages we've got, as I say, we've cut out our triangular pieces and covered them with our decals. We've also cut out our little spacer pieces, and here we've got one of the frames and one of the doors. This is the front panel of the door. And what we need to do now is to make the illusion that there's an open door there. Now you have to work these in sequence, so I've labelled here door, door, spacer, spacer, because on the next section you'll do the opposite way round. So it looks like the doors are sliding that way and then that way. It'll make more sense when I do it, so let's put the spacers on, a little bit of glue, stick a spacer on there, a little bit of glue on here. Make sure you've got tops, got it all the right way round, because I have made that mistake. Spacer in there. Now we need to position these doors on here, so when they're in place, just put them there. I won't glue them in a moment, just so that you can see. And when we flip this front face over, it looks like the doors are retracted, but you want to get these evenly spaced. Okay, so that's where you've got to be careful. Make sure you can evenly space those. So a little bit of glue on there and there. Try and set them back kind of sort of halfway in the frame. And then the same on this one. I want to make sure they're evenly spaced. So if we just flip that over and have a look, you can see that's fairly even there to there. And then on that, we then want to fit this door on there. So that gives the illusion there, and you can see that quite clearly, it gives the illusion that the doors have been retracted, but they're still in the grooves there on the side. So I'm going to stick that on top now. I'm happy with that position. Get those bases level, the inside is level, and the two sides level up as well. That's it, and then you can see that you've got like the illusion that the doors have been retracted on there. Now you end up with 3 sets of doors on here, so you'll have one on the front, one in the middle and one on the rear. This is why you end up with 3 lots of these double skins. Now you want to make sure that you can try to get it so you can see it. So you can see the doors on this side. For the next layer you want the doors to be on the opposite side. And then on the third layer, the doors will be back on the same side as this. Now, I've already done that. The reason why I've already done that will be clear in a moment. So that's our main panel with our doors retracted. Now, if I bring in to shot what I've already done, which is this section here, Okay, you've got a layer all layered up here with the doors on opposite corners as they go through the layer. Hope that makes sense anyway. So the next thing, the last thing I've got to do is to fit this layer to that layer, like that. Just checking that the doors are opposing each other. So you've got the doors there, then you go through to the next layer on they're on the opposite corners, and then the third layer they're on the same corners as those ones. That should make my 3 layers up. Right, I'm going to glue this down now, and then I'll show you what I've done to alter this diorama slightly for my needs. So now we bring in that layer that we've just done, try and line it up as best we can so that the floors all match. Do that from the inside. And that the edges of the doors match as well. And there you are. There you can see it. It's quite thick with 3 bulkheads. Got one there, and then the third one there. Now what I've done, because I want to use this for toy photography, this is Star Wars, which on the Empire's ships, very clean, very nice, neat, tidy ships. But I also want to use this for photographing, say, alien diorama or any other sort of space age type diorama. So what I've done, if I flip this over, I've changed the colour. On the rear panels, I've made them grey. And in fact, what I'm also going to do is add some decals to this, some hazard stripes, and dirty the whole thing up. Because the ships in like Alien and that are not clean. So I want to dirty this side up to use for an Alien diorama, and then keep this nice clean blue steel, bluey grey colour for the Star Wars diorama. The only thing I've got left to do now is just to cover up the cap ends so you don't see this bit, and for that I've cut few pieces of black card, just black card, 6 centimetres by 15 centimetres and 6 centimetres by 15.5 centimetres, just to cap off the edges. So if we have a look here, let's get the longest piece. So that will just sit on the top and cap that in, so it covers up all the join lines there. I'm probably going to need something a bit stronger than this, but I'll just put a bit of this glue stick on there for now, and then I'll probably put some hot glue on it later. I haven't got my hot glue gun set up. So this is the 15.5 centimetres, just a thin piece of black card. Pop that on top. I need to tidy the edges, that's all it's for. Just to tidy the edges up. Turn that over. Yeah, I can feel it's not really sticking that well. But this is a great idea by dioramaworkshop.com, and it's going to assist me in my photography. The base on there like that, and the top, so it just finishes it all off. Just got the 2 sides to stick on. Yeah, definitely not sticking very well. We need some hot glue on there. But you get the idea. It just boxes the whole lot in. Definitely going to need some hot glue. Just neatens it all off. Oh, apart from it's falling off. Right, I'll have to dig out the old hot glue gun, stick them on and finish that off. But there you can see Star Wars side diorama in the nice clean blue, Alien style diorama in the dirty grey colour, and I've also printed off a strip of decals of hazard strips which I'm going to add to this, and that'll be it. Right, I'll just finish that off, come back to you at the end and show you the finished article. Okay, see you in a mo.